That night, the rain wouldn't stop. The drops tapped against the window frame like the slow, sorrowful rhythm of time. In a small suburban house, only the dim glow of an old bedside lamp lit the thin, trembling hands of an elderly woman holding her phone. Her name was Helen, 78 years old, living alone since her husband passed away. It was nearly 10 o'clock, and as always, she sat by the window, listening to the rain and gazing at the empty street. But that night felt different. A strange feeling stirred inside her, as if someone was trying to reach out, trying to say something. Then the phone rang. On the screen appeared the name of her son, Michael. A faint smile crossed her wrinkled face. She reached for the phone, then hesitated. Maybe he called by mistake, she thought. He's probably busy. I'll call him back in the morning. The ringing stopped. The room fell silent again, except for the soft drumming of rain on the roof. The next morning, her phone rang once more. It wasn't Michael. It was the hospital. They told her that late last night, Michael had been in an accident on his way home. He was gone before the ambulance arrived. The phone slipped from her hand. All she could hear was the sound of rain, and one sentence echoing in her ears. "Ma'am, your son called you at 10:02 p.m. Since that night, Helen could no longer sleep when it rained. Each time the raindrops tapped on her window, she would wake up, open her phone and stare at that missed call. The last one she would ever receive from her son. Somewhere out there, many people are just like Helen. They once thought, "I'll call back tomorrow." They once ignored a simple message, a missed call, a moment that could have changed everything. But life doesn't wait. Sometimes, one moment of hesitation becomes a lifetime of regret. I once read a line in an American newspaper that said, "We don't realize it's the last time until it's over." And it's true. No one ever knows which call will be the last. In modern American life, where people rush through each day with barely enough time for a shared meal, a loving word, or a phone call home, millions of missed calls like that happen every single day. According to a mother in Florida once shared, "That rainy night, I felt a sharp pain in my chest. I wanted to call my son, but told myself it was too late. The next morning, I learned he'd passed away from a heart attack. Now, every time it rains, I just wish I could hear him say, 'Mom,' one more time." Stories like that seem far away, until they're not. How many times have we seen someone's name flash on our screen, but let it ring until it stopped? How many times have we meant to call a loved one, but said, "I'll do it tomorrow"? And how many times did that tomorrow never come? In a world where everyone is too busy, the last call doesn't always come through a phone. Sometimes it whispers in our hearts, in memories, in intuition, in the voice of someone who's already gone. If you're hearing this and thinking of someone, your parents, a sibling, an old friend, maybe now is the time to pick up the phone. Don't wait, because no one knows whether the next ring will be a greeting or a goodbye. You're listening to Golden 60 Plus, where every story is told not just with words, but with the truest emotions of life. If this story reminded you of someone, subscribe to NewGoldenDay, so we can hold on to the words left unsaid before the rain fades away. After a loss, what remains is not the tears, it's the memories. Memories can make us smile, but they can also leave a lump in our throat for a lifetime. In America, people have a habit of holding on to things. A photo tucked in a wallet, a note scribbled on a scrap of paper, even a voicemail saved on an old phone. In this digital age, there are still older adults who keep outdated cell phones simply because inside them lives the voice of someone who has passed. Margaret, an 82-year-old woman from Seattle, says she still keeps her late husband's old phone from more than 12 years ago. She told me, "I can't bring myself to delete the voicemail box. There's one message he left, just saying, 'I'll be home late. Don't wait for dinner.' I listen to it every week. Not for the words, but for his voice. That voice makes me feel like he's still here." She smiled, But her eyes glistened, because the thing people fear most after losing someone isn't loneliness. It's forgetting the sound of the person they love. Many older Americans talk to themselves. Their children or grandchildren sometimes think it's a sign of aging, but in truth, they're talking to memories. They speak to the ones they've lost as if they're still listening. "Honey, it's raining so much today." "Sweetheart, the tree we planted years ago has bloomed." This isn't delusion. It's how the heart keeps living. Psychologists in the US call this phenomenon continuing bonds. It means that even after someone has gone, the connection between them and the one left behind still exists. Studies show that holding on to small mementos or habits, keeping a favorite chair, a dinner bowl, a voice recording, helps seniors ease anxiety, sleep better, and maintain a more positive outlook. In many American homes, you'll notice small details if you look closely. A recliner no one sits in, but it's always dusted clean. A framed photograph on the dining table beside fresh flowers. A chipped coffee mug washed every day. To others, these are lifeless objects, but to their owners, they are pieces of the soul, the place where the departed still live. In a StoryCorps interview, a man named Thomas spoke about stories to his children. A friend keeps a handwritten letter. A wife still cooks her husband's favorite meal. This is how people defy separation. I remember hearing an elderly woman from Arizona on the radio. "Every morning I still say good morning to him. I know he's gone, but I can't start my day without saying, 'Good morning, my love.' I believe he still hears me, somewhere." Her words left me speechless, because in real love, departure cannot end connection. It only changes its form, from presence to memory, from a voice to a feeling. Science can describe it with thousands of terms: grief processing, emotional imprint, long-term attachment. But the heart is simpler. It only knows this: if you truly love someone, there is no final. There is only still here. If you're listening to this, you've probably kept a memory like that. An old letter, a voice recording, the faded photograph, or just a line someone once said that still makes you smile. Don't delete it, because it's not just the past. It's proof that love existed and that you were loved. And if this story stirs something in your heart, subscribe to NewGoldenDay, where together we preserve life's most beautiful memories so that no one left behind feels alone. Some calls don't come from a phone. They don't ring in the middle of a rainy night. They leave no trace on a screen. But we still hear them, clear, trembling, like a whisper in our hearts. A woman in Ohio shared that a few minutes before her mother passed away in the hospital, she suddenly felt a strange pull inside. She set her tea down, stepped out onto the balcony, and looked up at the sky. It was raining. In the sound of the rain, she heard someone call her name. Her mother's gentle voice, just as always. "My child." She immediately called her sister, only to learn their mother had just taken her last breath. Some coincidences can't be explained by science. When a loved one leaves, their soul seems to find a way to say goodbye. Confirm that older adults often experience bonded memories. When they've loved someone for so long, the brain records every sound, every scent, every familiar rhythm. So when that person is gone, the brain still hears them, not with the ears, but with memory. And sometimes that memory becomes an invisible call. A mother hears her child's voice in a dream. A wife sees her husband smiling in her sleep. An adult child at work suddenly feels uneasy, turns around, and arrives home just in time to see a parent for the last time. This isn't an illusion. It's the part of love that lives at the deepest level of the soul. In many American families, people still talk about signs from those who've passed. A clock stopping at the hour of death, a flower blooming out of season, a bird tapping on the window. Maybe it's coincidence, but to those left behind, it's the way their loved one says, "I'm still here." An elderly woman in Massachusetts shared, "My husband loved the piano. Since he passed, no one has touched the old piano in the living room. But one night, I heard a few notes play by themselves. I wasn't afraid. I just sat quietly and said, 'I know you're home.' People may laugh at that story, but anyone who has lost a piece of their heart understands. Sometimes the unexplainable is what keeps us alive. The last call doesn't always come from a phone. It comes from deep within memory, where love never disappears. Maybe you've heard a call like that, a feeling that made you stop, open an old photo, or suddenly think of someone in the night. Don't dismiss it. Sometimes it's a message from the person you love, not to make you sad, but to remind you they're still watching, still hoping you live well. And who knows, on some rainy night, when you look up and say, "I miss you," someone, somewhere may be smiling. This is Golden 60 Plus, where every story is a whisper from the heart. If you've ever felt a last call like this, share your story below. And if you want to hear more stories that touch the soul, don't forget to subscribe to New Golden Day, because some things can't be seen with the eyes. They can only be felt with the heart. Modern life has taught us to postpone our emotions. We wait for the right moment to say, "I love you." We wait for a free evening to call home. We wait until we're in a better mood to mend a rift. But the truth is, life never announces when it's the last time. An elderly man in California shared on a program called Letters of Life. "My wife died last winter. The night before, we argued over something small, because I forgot to compliment her soup. That night, I went to bed early. She stayed in the living room, thought about calling me, but didn't. By morning, she didn't wake up. Now every time I eat soup, I ask myself, what if that night I had walked out and said just one sentence? 'It's delicious, thank you.' His story left millions of Americans silent, because each of us has had our own that night. The night we stayed quiet, only to find we could never speak again. No one can turn back time. The only thing we can do is start today. Call someone you haven't spoken to in a long time. Thank someone who once helped you. Say, 'I miss you. I'm sorry. I still care.' Even a few words are enough to warm someone's heart. Because sometimes, one phone call is enough to erase a lifetime of silence. According to Harvard Health, older adults who maintain close relationships, even just through brief weekly conversations, are 35% less likely to develop depression and live an average of 7 years longer. Science can prove it with numbers, but the heart has known it all along. When we speak to someone, we're saying, "I still remember you." When we call a loved one, we're saying, "You're still part of my life." A phone call is more than sound. It's a bridge pulling us closer in a world growing colder. Someone once asked, "If you could make only one final phone call in your life, who would you call?" The question seems simple, but you can ponder it all day, because the answer isn't what matters. What matters is, don't wait until then to call. Don't wait until you're looking at someone's picture in a frame to realize you never said "I love you." Don't wait until the rain starts to remember there was a last call you never heard. And own last call. Share your story in the comments. These aren't just stories. They're a way for those who've gone to keep living in our collective memory. You're listening to New Golden Day. If this story moved your heart, subscribe to New Golden Day, because sometimes the right story at the right time can be the last call you need to find yourself again.